So basically, it operates like a needle syringe program, giving out clean needles and everything that goes with that. But in addition to that, it accommodates the injecting episode on site. So you come in, you register. It's quite a formal registration process. That was partly for the original evaluation, but it also provides a lot of relevant information so you can tailor advice. And right from the outset, people are told what the range of services are, including that the injecting centre can organise referrals to drug treatment and rehab. So they know that right from the get-go, that sort of assistance is ready and available, and they're encouraged, obviously, to use that. And then they go into the second stage where they actually get the needle syringe and are allocated to a booth. They've brought their own drugs. They can ostensibly inject just the once per visit. There's no time limit on it, and then they can come back, but then they have to be reassessed for intoxication. So part of the initial assessment in that stage one is to make sure that they're registered, that they're eligible, that they meet the criteria. And one of the important criteria is that they're not intoxicated, because you're not preventing an overdose if you ignore one of the greatest risk factors for overdose and then allow people to proceed to inject more drugs. So, and then after they've injected, they move. So that's a very clinical area, the second stage. Looks a bit like an emergency centre. And then if there's an overdose that happens there, of course, the staff are all equipped to deal with that overdose. And then they go into the third stage, which is the aftercare stage. That's a bit of a sort of chill out area, but people are sort of not encouraged to hang around there the whole day. So the model is very much designed to maximise throughput. So we didn't really provide, other than referrals, assessment and referrals, limited on-site services otherwise, keeping in mind that people are almost by definition drug affected by that when they're in the service. So there's always the issue of consent to other health services and whether they even remember. So you've got a limited ability to do much other than crisis counselling. It's not really an appropriate setting for more therapeutic counselling or medical services, but they do have some clinics there, Hep C clinic, where they can take blood and check people for Hep C. And so once people feel ready to leave, they go out through the back door, so it's a sort of one-way system. But they can, if they want to inject again, walk around the block, come back through the front door, get assessed again, and as long as they're not intoxicated, they can start the process again. But it's different to many of the European rooms, which are more sort of like drop-in centres with a sort of a side room where you can inject, so that not everyone there is there to inject, whereas everybody that comes to the injecting centre is ostensibly there to inject. So, as I say, this was to maximise throughput. We only had one. We were being formally evaluated. We needed to maximise impact. We also had a lot of other drop-in services in the area. So we really didn't want to duplicate anything that was already there. We wanted to use all of our resources for what wasn't there, and that was an injecting centre. So it's a more clinical model. There's some others similar. Vancouver followed that model as well after us. It's been very successful on that count. As I mentioned, everybody's made aware that is available for them. You obviously can't pounce on people every time they turn up, shoving treatment at them. People have to be ready, as they say. It has to be the right time, and if they know they're going to get bombarded with that sort of thing, they're obviously not going to keep coming. So it's really important not to get too strident on that. We're under a lot of pressure to really get those numbers right up. And this is where maybe wasn't our fault, but I think the politicians supporting this overemphasised that it was a gateway to treatment. It is a gateway. We can certainly send people off in that direction. But whether or not people actually then get into treatment and whether the treatment's successful, like we were being assessed on that. And that was unfair, we thought. Take a horse to water, but can you make them drink? So I think it was talked up a bit, this was somehow going to cure drug use. And injecting centres do many things, but they don't cure drug use. Yes, other things do that. It's important not to oversell it from that point of view, but it is a place that, particularly if it is pitched in the right way, and the way you do that is it's sort of a bit reverse psychology. Don't jump on people every time they turn up. You create an environment where people feel safe, where they feel not judged, where they feel that people know what they're doing. And so then when you see somebody looking, like shit, you can say, hey, you're really not looking too great. Have you thought about giving it a break? And then it's like, having a caring, thoughtful person giving you some good advice, somebody who you trust and who you respect. It's much more likely to be taken on board. At the end of the day, the hard work has to be done by the person. You can suggest all you like. Most people who use drugs do know about treatment, have considered treatment, have often been to treatment, and dropped out. But, you've always got to keep that sort of agenda up. But, yeah, it just depends on the extent to which you push it. But the other important thing is, I guess, that, potentially you see people sooner. So at a health service, almost by definition, the people coming there have a health problem. That's why they're coming there. So they are with an injecting centre, because it shouldn't pitch itself really as a health centre. It's a place that people can come to inject safely. You presumably then potentially see people earlier in the course of things, before they've actually developed health problems. And then, you can start to encourage healthier behaviours, and then, of course, nip things in the bud when you see the first signs. So you get the opportunity to see more people earlier and direct those people to treatment when we know it works better than when people are completely entrenched in the lifestyle and got a criminal record and all those things. Then the pathway out is much more convoluted.